Hello everyone, my name is Laura and I am sweating profusely. It's disgusting. Today I'm going to show you my favorite book so far of 2021. Haha. None of these came out this year, I don't think. Typical, I never read new releases because I don't keep up with the times. I have tried to make a video 4 times today and my phone kept overheating, so I am in a mood. So we're gonna get right into the video right now. Okay, is that alright? The very first book that I have to show you is Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. I read this last week and I loved it. I adored it. I loved it so much. Convenience Store Woman is about a young woman who works in a convenience store in Japan, and she is very happy with her lifestyle. She goes to work, she comes home, she eats, she sleeps, she wakes up, goes to work, comes home, eats, sleeps. That's her life, and she's really, really content with that. But everyone around her, like the people that she works with and her family and friends, keep asking her, why aren't you married yet? Why are you still working in a convenience store? Why don't you have a proper job? Why are you the way that you are? And they won't just let her live. So she starts to question herself, thinking, maybe I should get married if that's what people think that I should do. Maybe that's what I should be doing. Maybe I should get a proper job if that's what people think I should be doing. And they won't leave her alone to let her live her life because she doesn't fit the idea of what they have in their head of what a typical life is supposed to be like. You're supposed to get married, you're supposed to have children, you're supposed to have a stable job. They just don't like that she doesn't conform to those rules. I really loved it, and I've ordered her other book, Earthlings, and I'm really, really excited to read that. I've heard that that's even more depressing, so that's fun. Another favourite of mine was Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. This is a historical fiction that is based off of real life events. It's mainly following the Tudors and Henry VIII and his wife Anne Boleyn. We are following the story and seeing this all progress through the eyes of the character of Thomas Cromwell, who was a real life person who was advising the king at that time. What an interesting book. I have been so scared to read this for so long. I really thought that I was going to find it really intimidating and terrifying and that I wasn't going to understand it because I know a bit about the Tudors, but I don't know a lot. And so I was really scared that that was gonna cause me problems whilst reading this. It really didn't. I really, really enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun with it. I was really surprised by how much I actually knew already, and I cannot wait to read the second book. I actually have it here in my bag. It is called Bring Up the Bodies, and the third book I think is called The Mirror and the Light, and I'm really excited to continue on with this series. My next book I talked about in my last video. I'm very excited to talk about it again. It is The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule. The Stranger Beside Me is a true crime novel. A woman called Anne Rule, the author, was approached to write a book about murders that were happening in her area. The killer had not been found. Young women were being targeted. Some victims survive and get away from this killer, and so they're able to paint a description of him. They're able to describe what car he was driving, how he sounded, how tall he was, everything that they could possibly remember. They were giving up this information, and so the police started to form a solid description. The killer is driving a Volkswagen Beetle, he looks like so-and-so, and his name is Ted. Anne Rule is then thinking, oh my god, I have a friend called Ted. He drives a Volkswagen Beetle, he looks exactly like the illustration that they're after putting out. I think my friend is a murderer. So the book is really about Anne Rule coming to terms with the fact that she is friends with a killer, friends with someone who could do something like that. I really, really like that Anne Rule in all of her books really takes the time to paint a picture of the victims, what they were like when they were alive, what their personalities were like, what their interests were. Even though this is a thriller, she really, really pays respects to them and takes the time to let us know who they were. It's one of my favorite books ever. I highly recommend it. If you have Scribd, I recommend listening to the audiobook. If not, the physical book I'm sure is just as good. I loved it. My next favorite was You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. I could talk about this book all day. Liz is our main character. She's a young black girl in America. She is still in school. She's in her last year of high school, and she is dying to get out of the town that she lives in. She absolutely hates it, and she's just dying to move on with her life. Liz finds out that she can win a scholarship for college, but she has to enter to become prom queen, and she has to win. And she's socially awkward, and she hates people looking at her, and she has no interest in being queen. Why am I talking like that? This is a queer coming-of-age story. The relationship is one of my favorites I've ever read in my life. It was the cutest thing ever. It deals with anxiety, identity, race, bullying, sexuality. I wasn't interested in this when I first heard of it because I thought that it was going to be really cheesy. I was so wrong. I loved it so much. It is a little bit cheesy. I didn't even care. I usually don't like the cheese. I'm vegan. I loved it so much. I thought it was adorable. I thought it was so well written. If you're looking for a hug in a book, read this, please, I beg you. My next book is one that I also spoke about in my last video. It's Mindhunter by John Douglas. I love this man so much. I adore John Douglas. I think he is an icon. I think he's a legend, and I think he is the moment. John Douglas is a retired FBI detective who in the 80s went around to multiple prisons with his partner and interviewed serial killers and all kinds of criminals in order to get a sense of how their mind worked, and also in order to try and prevent these kinds of crimes from happening in the future. Yeah, I love the man. And I thought it was great. I can't wait to read other books by him. I have read The Killer Across the Table. I didn't enjoy that as much, but I loved this, and I can't wait to read the sequel, which is called Journey into Darkness, hopefully this year. Next, I have a Stephen King book. Woo! It's Cujo. I mentioned this in one of my TBR videos last year, and I finally read it, and I loved it. It is one of my top 3 favorite books of the year. Cujo is about a Saint Bernard called Cujo who gets bitten by a bat and becomes rabid and is let loose on the town of Castle Rock, Maine. Our 2 main characters are a woman and a child. They get trapped in a hot car. Cujo may or may not be outside it. You have to read to find out the rest. I loved this book so much. I think it is just as good as some of his most famous books. I think it's just as good as The Shining. I actually prefer it to The Shining personally. I think it's really underrated. I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun, and it's not that long. It's only 300 and something pages. I highly suggest it if you're interested in getting into more King. The last book is one that I was actually surprised I liked as much as I did. I am invested in this series. It is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I tried to read Shadow and Bone a couple of years ago, and I thought it was stupid, so I put it down. No offense. I've also read Ninth House and The Language of Thorns. Both books I really enjoyed, but for some reason, because I didn't enjoy Shadow and Bone and it's in the same world as Six of Crows, I thought I wasn't gonna like this. Boy, was I wrong. Six of Crows is a heist story about 6 characters. These 6 characters are a part of a gang called the Drakes. Their leader is Kaz Brecker. You may have heard of him. He's very popular, I think, on TikTok. I'm such an old woman, oh my god. Kaz has to form this crew of 6, including himself, in order to carry out what is basically a suicide mission. They have to carry out this heist. They have to break into what is called the Ice Court, which is the most dangerous, impenetrable prison in the land, and they have to break out this man. I can't remember his name, but he's very important. They have to get him out, but if they don't succeed, they will die. They will be murdered. There is a lot of money at the end of the line if they complete this task, and so they come together to try their best. I didn't explain that very well. It is so fun. It's some of the best character work I've ever seen. Each character is so interesting, has such a brilliant backstory that's kind of touched on in this, and I'm imagining will be explained more in the second book. I was blown away by how much I love this. I'm sure a lot of you are like, yeah, obviously, everyone loves this book. It's brilliant. It is. It's really good. Ooh. I can't wait to read the second book, and I highly recommend it. It is, to me, it lived up to the hype. It's worth the hype. So, yes. I'm also currently reading The Familiars by Stacey Halls. I'm just about halfway through. Really enjoying this as well. Don't think it'll be on my favourites list at the end of the year, but I'm still really enjoying it. It'll probably be a 4-star read. Please let me know what your favourite books have been of 2021 so far. Are any of these on the list? Are any of these on your TBR? Do you have any questions about them that I may be able to answer for you? I'm gonna go sweat in the garden. Thank you so much for watching. I shall see you next time. Children of the Corn. Imagine if that was my actual singing voice. Children of the Corn.